Welcome to Nerd Alert. Today we have a very special episode for you today because it's everything Tolkien. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite characters, some of the best books and movies, and maybe some of the worst ones. So that's what we're going to be Tolkien about today. Welcome back to Nerd Alert. For this segment, we're just going to kind of do a brief overview of the Tolkien universe and just some of our general thoughts on it. So, Darian, I'll start with you. What was your first experience with Tolkien, and what did you think of it?
So, my first experience with Tolkien was watching the first movie, The Fellowship of the Ring, the first of that trilogy. Originally, I was scared of it. I think I was 11, 12 years old. My uncle, he had the movie playing in his room, and I came in on the scene of Gandalf going against the Balrog, and the Balrog scared me. So I got scared, left, came back when it was reran on because my uncle left the same TV channel on all the time. So I came back and actually rewatched it, just sat there and watched it, and I loved it. So then after that, I, did my research, found the other movies, watched those other movies. And then ever since my first interaction with the Fellowship, I kind of tried to branch out to the books, read The Hobbit, and then whenever the Hobbit movies came out, I was like, oh, I definitely got to go watch those.
Well, we'll talk more about the Hobbit movies later, but for now, Abby, I'll ask you the same question.
Honestly, it was kind of one of those things that was always quoted around the house, that and The Princess Bride. And I don't remember when I started watching the movies. I know I read the books in middle school, but I have a very vivid memory of constantly just watching The Two Towers. And I think that there was a period of time where I thought that was the first movie, I feel like. I don't know, because I was so young and stupid. So, but I don't think I ever watched the original cuts of the movie. I think I always watched the extended editions. So, same thing with The Hobbit. It was always, I think, the extended editions and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, I've never interacted with the extended editions, honestly, except for, I think I watched one scene. It was in The Two Towers where it's the voice of Saruman, and that was completely cut from the movie. It shouldn't have been because it's literally one of the best scenes in that movie. But I looked that up on YouTube. But that's really the only extended edition thing that I've really interacted with. For me, I would say that my first interaction with it is that my dad is a huge Lord of the Rings fan. He's read all of the books several times, watched all the movies several times. We own them all. So I just kind of grew up knowing about Tolkien. And I tried in 8th grade to start the first one, and no, that language was just a little bit too high for me. I was so confused, and I dropped it. But last year, actually, my dad got me the full box set of Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King, and The Hobbit for Christmas. And so I was like, okay, now's the time. I need to check this off the bucket list. I'm going to read them all. So it took a while, especially since we were in school as a semester, so I had a lot of other stuff to focus on. But I read all of them, and I really got to say that I was missing out. I think everybody should read these books. I mean, I'm already a fantasy guy. That's just my favorite genre. But yeah, this is some of the best fantasy that you can read, period. So kind of going along with that, I'll pass it to Abby first. What is your favorite Lord of the Rings media? So this could be a favorite book or a favorite movie if you like the movies better, that type of thing.
Oh, man. I guess I have more experience with the movies than I do with the books, because I think I've only read the books once. And that was so long ago that it's very sparse. I just remember the trees section was so long.
Yep.
It was
The
so
ends.
bad.
Yeah,
It's
I hate
so
the
bad.
ends.
I love the end.
It's
Okay.
not, it's fine. It's
All
just
right.
such a hard read. Because they like literally, I think the movies did it perfectly. Where it's like they talk really slow, and then that book section is very slow.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Yep.
I think probably my favorite movie, and honestly, they kind of blend together for me. Would probably be. It's probably the Two Towers to Return of the King, just because those I think are the ones that I rewatched the most as a kid compared to the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, okay. Those are some interesting picks, I will say. Before I say anything, Darian, what are you thinking?
So actually, I'll say this: it's not a book, it's not a movie or even a TV show.
Okay.
It's the video game Lord of the Rings Conquest for PlayStation 3.
I've never played that.
It's great. It's amazing. So it's like it was a game where there's like the 4 classes. You had like mage, warrior, archer, and assassin, and you would play throughout like the movies as these like as like one of those classes as a soldier, and you would play through the movie, and you would play against like heroes, and then if you got to a certain point that you could become a hero class in the movie. So like there was one where it was the battle for the mines of Moria, and like you got to a certain point, and then you got to play as Gimli, and Gimli was like absolutely busted. Like all of his moves instant killed like orcs, and it was crazy. And then there would be a scene where you would fight against the Balrog of Morgoth, and I'm sitting there like I think it was my freshman year of high school thinking this is the best game ever created, because I got to play through everything. I got to play as Ents. I got to like battle as a hobbit and even fight hobbits, which was even more fun. But yeah, no, Lord of the Rings Conquest is definitely one of my most iconic. One of my most iconic Lord of the Rings experience, definitely, especially in high school.
So I've never heard of that, honestly.
I don't know that I've ever seen you that animated before.
Oh
Yeah.
it was so much fun.
The only Lord of the Rings game that I've ever played, and it's a little bit rare now, is Lego Lord of the Rings. I played that on the Wii.
Really?
And I haven't played it in years because I don't really go back to the Lego games unless it's like Lego Star Wars or something. But I remember really liking it. It has like the huge open world, because that's whenever they started experimenting with that. So you could explore the entire world, and you get to meet all the characters and play as them. You can play as the Witch King. It's not like he's in 5 minutes of the movie, like 2 pages in the book. Like you actually get to play as him. That's really cool.
See, I got to play as the Witch King too in Lord of the Rings Conquest. It was pretty cool. Just gotta say that.
Yeah, but the Lego game does not compare to what I think is the best piece of Tolkien media, and that is the book Return of the King. I think that is easily the best of the book series, and one of the best books you can read, period. The more I think about it, the more I love it. I always write down my thoughts in like a little journal after I'm done, and I gave it, I think, like a 4.5 out of 5, just because like the beginning was a little bit slow. But other than that, perfect book, wraps it up so well. I love Frodo and Sam heading to Mount Doom. You really get a sense of just how desolate it is, and that comes from Tolkien's own experiences in World War I, and you can just feel how hopeless the situation is. And then there's like 5 endings in the book, like they part ways at Minas Tirith, and then they go back, and then actually, you have to take back the Shire, and then Frodo leaves, and so the ending's a little bit long, but I think it's deserved. Out of like any series out there, we'll give Tolkien 5 endings. Yep, that works for me. Like I just love seeing all these characters that I had known for the entirety of the books just grow up, and you can feel the change in their character. And so that's why I think Return of the King is the best. But I don't know if you agree.
As far as like book wise, actually I'll go book and movie wise. And like my rankings of like each of the trilogies, Return of the King is my number 2 in both of them. I really liked it in both of them. Just the way that the way I think the biggest standout for me is the way that the movies use the Army of the Dead, and then the way that the books did it was very different. I like the way the books did it better with Elrond and the group of Dunedain coming to Aragorn's aid, to their aid instead of the Army of the Dead, because the Army of the Dead scene was really cool. I did enjoy that. I personally would definitely prefer Elrond doing it instead. But I did really like the Return of the King. I think my favorite from the book, and I know you'll disagree with this, is the Fellowship. And honestly, I think the reason why is that it is really slow, in my opinion. But like as a kid, and I read this in middle school, strict basely because it was worth 50 AR points, and I needed the AR points. But as a kid, I really enjoyed just reading, no matter the length of the book, whether I even found it interesting or not. I just enjoyed reading. So like the bigger the book, I just saw it as a challenge to go through, and I just enjoyed reading like every word, no matter how slow the story was. And the Fellowship really kind of it was my first book that I really read that like was like kind of just slower in just the way it went, but the reward for reaching the end of it and then reaching the end of the trilogy, I just felt like it was so much more for me. And then my favorite of the movies was definitely the Two Towers. The Two Towers, just the fight scenes, the battle, the extended edition with the Ents. The Ents. Yes, they were slow talkers, but it was so cool whenever they fought through everything, destroyed the tower. Treebeard, one of my favorite Lord of the Rings characters. Getting to play as Treebeard too in Lord of the Rings Conquest was a lot of fun, let me tell you. But no, the Ents, Treebeard, Two Towers I loved it.
All right. Well, Darian, it's okay to be wrong. And with that, that'll do it for this segment here. Coming up next, we have WooTunes Movie Minute and the Esports Talk.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of WooTunes. My name is Joe Venzel here with my co-host Rebecca Vaughn with another edition of WooTunes. We're going to start off, as we usually do, with the top 10 in the Billboard Hot 100s. And starting off at number 10, we're going to throw it to the Spanish side for Ella Baila Sola by Eslabon Armado and Peso Pluma. Now, I haven't heard too much of the song. We listened to it a little bit before. I mean, I love some Spanish music. I
love a good Spanish song. There is just some driving force behind the tempo, the beat that they have. Spanish music can always get me dancing. It's infatuating, I should say. Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's intoxicating, really. It's awesome.
It's a good song.
Absolutely. Number 9, Anti-Hero, Taylor Swift. I'm going to be 100% honest. I want this song gone. I'm so tired of Taylor Swift. I love T-Swift, but like this song is just way overplayed.
Yeah, I agree. It's time for something new in the top 10.
I 100% agree as well. Number 8, another one of my favorite songs though, Boy's a Liar, Pink Panthers, and Ice Spice. I mean, I've talked about this plenty of times on this show. I love this song.
I like this one too, but again, let's get some new songs on the list.
Fair
I
enough.
do love this one, but we need some new ones.
Definitely. And then number 7, we have the Die For You remix with The Weeknd and Ariana Grande. Now, Die For You was on the Billboard Top 100, or Top 10, I should say, for the longest time. Starboy came out from The Weeknd in 2016, got in resurgence, but now the remix is number 7. I don't like the remix. Just keep the regular song.
I agree. Yeah, the remix, it's okay, but again, the regular song is where I really find my love for it.
Yeah, 100%. And then number 6, we have Calm Down by Rima and Selena Gomez. I like the song. It's very mellow. It's just another pop hit from Selena.
Yeah, and again, this is one of those songs that I'm not too familiar with, but Selena Gomez, you can't go wrong with her.
Not at all. And then number 5, we have Creepin' with Metro Boomin, 21 Savage, and The Weeknd. One of my favorite songs off the Metro Boomin album. I mean, this song's been up there for a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is definitely a song that gives off vibes that you would enjoy, but it is not one of my favorites, but that's okay.
Fair enough, fair enough. Then we got Kill Bill by SZA at number 4. Fantastic song. I mean, she deserves to be up here. That record she put out was fantastic.
Yeah, I still love this song. I do think I overplayed it a little bit for myself, though, so I'm ready for this one to be filtered out as well.
Yes, and then number 3 of Flowers by Miley Cyrus, another one where, I mean, it was at number 1 for the longest time. Kind of want to see it filtered out.
Yeah, I didn't like this one too much when it first came out. It felt like a copy and paste of the other songs, and it was just, I was never in love with it.
No. And number 2, we have a new one, Search and Rescue by Drake, released this last week. One of my favorite Drake songs as of recent. Got In His Feelings. I mean, In Feelings Drake. Can't go wrong with it, in my opinion.
This is one, I haven't heard this one either. It's just not my style that I typically go for, but respect to him.
Yes, indeed. And then Last Night, Morgan Wallen stands at number 1 this week, Billboard Hot 100. Now, I like the song. I love Morgan Wallen. I love country. But there are just so many songs on that album that are a lot better than this one, and it makes no sense why this one blew up.
Not a country fan. This one could be off the list entirely, and I'd be fine with it. I know that's a hot take, bad opinion, but not a country fan.
Fair enough. And then that's going to end our Billboard Hot 100, Top 10, I should say, segment. Now moving on to the Song of the Week. And ladies first, Rebecca, your Song of the Week.
My Song of the Week is I'm doing push-ups, Bears and Trees. I got to see them live the other week, and they performed that song, and it was absolutely fantastic live. It's a smaller indie band again, and you know, it's one of those bands not a lot of people know of. Highly recommend it if you're into that indie band scene.
She actually was the one who put me on the indie scene, recent indie scene. So, I mean, definitely got to check that one out. And my Song of the Week is going to be Cupid by 50/50. Now, it is a K-pop group, and it's been blowing up over TikToks, kind of like the, Boys a Liar. Just the bop.
Got to do your dance on TikTok.
Of course.
And
I mean, the dance is fantastic. The song is just infatuating. I love it. I love it.
No,
at the end
I'm
of
not
the
on
day.
that train yet, so.
She's not yet. She'll get there. But then that's going to end our segment for Woo Tunes here on Nerd Alert. Stay tuned for more Nerd Alert content.
Hello everybody and welcome to Movie Minute. I'm your host, Tyler Drum, and let's start things off with news from everyone's favorite mouse. Disney's live-action remake of Lilo & Stitch has begun casting, and the cast list has been announced for the public. Now, you'll have to bear with me as I struggle to name all the actors that have been confirmed to be joining the remake of one of Disney's humblest original stories. Maya Keola has been cast as Lilo, and the original actor for Stitch, Chris Sanders, has announced that he'll be reprising his role. Sydney Agudong has been cast as Nani, who is the sister of Lilo, and Courtney B. Vance has the honor of playing my personal favorite character from the original, Agent Cobra Bubbles, the mysterious social worker who watches over the family. Unfortunately, this seems to be all the returning characters that have been confirmed for sure, but Jolene Purdy has been confirmed to be a newly announced Mrs. Kyoka for the film. While little is known about the film as of this moment, what I can tell you is that the lovable blue alien that stole so many hearts is indeed returning to the big screen. Speaking of lovable blue creatures, Sonic fans should be excited to hear that the spin-off series Knuckles is now finally in production. This series was alluded to back when Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was still hot in theaters. The series will focus on Knuckles the Echidna, played by the amazing Idris Elba, teaching the rookie Officer Wade, who is played by Adam Pally, in the ways of the warrior Echidna that have been passed down for generations. Knuckles, being the last of his kind, hopes that Wade can keep his lifestyle alive. Being somebody who personally thoroughly enjoyed the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie and loved both Knuckles and Wade in that film, I cannot wait for the series to be released. On the topic of sequels, a first new look at the new installment of Godzilla Cinematic Universe has been announced. Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. The movie stars Brian Tyree Henry, Rebecca Hall, and Dan Stevens, and is set to release on March 15th, 2024. Not much is known about this film, but one thing can be said about the film for sure, and that's the Kong that was shown in the teaser is certainly abominable, and I personally wouldn't want to meet them anywhere. Unfortunately, that is all the time I have for you today, but I thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Movie Minute.
What's up, nerds? I'm Ethan Spazarski, and welcome back to Esports Talk. The NECC playoffs are underway for Waynesburg University Esports as the League of Legends, Rocket League, and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate teams start their playoff runs. The League of Legends teams come in as the 5th seed after beating 2 seed Misericordia 2-1 in their last regular season game. Rocket League comes into the Challenger Division playoffs as the 6th seed against 3-seeded RMU after winning the National Esports Collegiate Conference Emergent Appalachia Division title last fall. In Smash, Timbo and Kolseb hold the 2 seed in their divisions, with Dane holding the last playoff spot in his division as the 4 seed. Kolseb plays against 3rd-seeded Italco. Dane comes in as the underdog versus the number 1 seeded Mateo, and Timbo kicks off against 3-seeded Kashira as he looks to make another deep playoff run this season. Some international news: the University of Warwick, based in Coventry, England, has won the UK's Esports University of the Year title for the 5th consecutive year. The competition, run by the UK University Esports body National Student Esports, NSE, ranks the UK universities based on their competitive performance across several major esports titles. The university has invested in esports in recent years and has been heavily active in the industry. Warwick opened up £275,000 of esports center in 2021, and its esports society has struck a commercial sponsorships in the past. Katie Emery, ex-president of Warwick Esports for 2022-23, commented in a release, quote, "I am proud of the entire Warwick Esports community for their hard work throughout this year to secure our 5th consecutive victory. Every single team and player and staff member in Warwick Esports should be filled with pride today. I am sure this win will give the fresh-faced exec team all the motivation they need to continue our legacy into next year." End quote. The award follows the conclusion of the British University Esports Championship, the finale of the NSC's competitive season, which is held offline in Insomnia Gaming Festival in early April. Unfortunately, that's all the esports talk. Stay tuned for the rest of Nerd Alert.
You're watching WCTV, where we aim to bring you the best local coverage of what you care about most. Everything from local businesses to hometown sports and the latest weather. We're keeping up to date with what you need to know about it. You're watching WCTV, where we aim to bring you the best local coverage of what you care about most. Everything from local businesses to hometown sports and the latest weather. We're keeping up to date with what you need to know about issues that affect our campus and our community. We're telling the stories that matter, celebrating our past, our future, and our potential. So tune in for all the latest buzz right here on WCTV Channel 14, Waynesburg.
Welcome back to Nerd Alert. I'm joined again by Darian Allensworth and Abigail Phillips as we talk more about the Tolkien universe. So we talked a lot about the Lord of the Rings, the main series last segment, but there is another one, and it's the Hobbit. So Darian, I was talking to you before the show. You definitely have some opinions regarding the book and the movies, so let's hear them.
Well, so I like the movies better than the Lord of the Rings movies, but I like the Lord of the Rings books better than the Hobbit movies. So, as I say that,
all right,
have wrong opinions about it.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed The Hobbit through and through. Like the first movie, I felt like got into the action and got more into it quicker than the first of the Fellowship of the Ring did. And you know, I liked Bilbo Baggins' character, the actor, who I'm angry at myself because I can't think of his name at the moment, because I do love the actor.
Mm-hmm.
Just played Bilbo well. The interaction, and I think the camaraderie of the dwarves was just, it was a great factor that they really build on throughout the movies. And my favorite movie was the third movie. The Battle of the Five Armies. The action scenes were great. The extended cuts of them with the rams and the fight with the dwarves,
wow.
Awesome. Smaug, I think they could have done Smaug a lot better, but if I'm being honest. But I did like his interactions with Bilbo.
Mm-hmm.
And the fighting scenes with just between the elves, the orcs, everything. I enjoyed it. I'm a big action guy, so the Battle of the Five Armies definitely was my favorite of the Hobbit series.
So it's a little bit hot in here after those hot takes, let me tell you.
Hot takes. Okay.
Before we say anything about that, Abby, what are your thoughts on The Hobbit?
Okay. Again, it's been a while since I read the book, so I won't comment on the book, but I will comment on the movies. Saying that they are way better than the original trilogy, false. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I mean,
You're allowed to be wrong.
there are good moments in those movies, and I can appreciate. I do think that the guy who plays Bilbo did great. I forget his name too. I was trying to think of his name. I cannot think of it. The Rams. I literally just watched this scene with somebody. They come out of nowhere.
Exactly. That's what makes it so cool.
It's not continuity, and honestly, I think that a lot of people's biggest problem with The Hobbit is the CG, the work uses CGI.
Yeah.
I think it's fine, but I think they blew their budget on Smaug, and that's fine. But I wish they would have kept some of that practical effects, because I think it would have made people accept some of the changes that they made a whole lot more. But definitely not better, but it's one of those things where it's like, if I wanted to rewatch all of them, I probably would rewatch The Hobbit and then go into the Lord of the Rings movies.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like, I won't go out and say that all three of the movies are unwatchable garbage that aren't worth your time, because they're not. There are some things in there, like you two have mentioned. Bilbo, I can't imagine anyone else as Bilbo, honestly. He does that good of a job. And I like how they kind of try and do a continuity weaving, because the original Hobbit book was written before Lord of the Rings, and then it had to be re-edited afterwards to kind of fit in with the timeline and everything. So the fact that the movies came so much later, they get to actually try and do that a little bit better. So I do appreciate what it was trying to go for, but what we ended up with,
The Rams.
Listen,
I am not too happy with. Now, I'm not even the biggest fan of the book. I don't think the book is that good, honestly. But the movies, first of all, 3 of them, we did not need 3. It's like a 400-page book. We did not need a trilogy. Originally, with Guillermo del Toro as the director, it was supposed to be a duology.
Yep.
That works for me.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
That third movie, The Battle of the Five Armies, where it's like an hour-and-a-half long battle scene, it's just like, can we just move on, please? Honestly, I think the first movie is the best, Unexpected Journey. I think that one follows the book the closest, with some of the lines coming directly from the book, like when Bilbo is first talking to Gandalf, that is ripped directly, line for line, from the book. That's the kind of stuff that I like to see.
Yeah.
And then the second movie, Desolation of Smaug, that's when things really started to go down the river, you could say, with the barrel scene.
Ride.
Yeah. The barrel scene is pretty much where any hope died for me.
What?
No!
What
do you mean?
I love that scene.
the best part of
Bomber
that movie.
going crazy was my favorite part of that scene.
All right.
He was an unstoppable force. He would have beat Thanos in the Avengers, man. In that battle, unstoppable. Give me
If you
it.
say so.
The best part of that movie was Thranduil, okay? I would love Lee Pace in a long blonde wig all the time, you know?
Yeah.
Perfection.
Thranduil was I did like his character, and I liked that. I did enjoy the actor with him as well his just his interactions with Thorin too, the back and forth between the two. I enjoyed that, and to that movie I did enjoy more than the Battle of the Five Armies was just some of the interactions between like two more characters, because so some of those interactions between like Thranduil and Thorin, or Gandalf and Bilbo, Smaug and Bilbo, like they were just really memorable interactions, like with memorable quotes that I remember from the movie. So like with Bard too, the introduction of Bard, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there is stuff to like about these movies. I just think that the bad outweighs the good, personally. But moving on, kind of getting back towards the book side of things, I mentioned it briefly here. What do you guys think of the Hobbit book by itself?
So I read The Hobbit more recently than the Fellowship of the Ring trilogy. And I liked it. Like you said, like compared to the movies, like they didn't need to go nearly as long as they did with the movies. With the book, so I enjoyed the book. Like I said, I do like the trilogy better, and I think again because I remember it as a kid. Just how rewarding it was to reach the end of all those books, and then with the Hobbit, it's like okay, I mean that's cool, but like I wanted more. Like I wanted to see more, and I think I think just the way that I compare the books to each other, because at least in my opinion, like I always compare the books in like a not necessarily series, but like in a universe together, and I just like the Fellowship so much better than the Hobbit, and again I think it's just because of when I read it, I just the reward of finishing some of the long books. And then the series as itself was just so rewarding.
Yeah, and Abby, I'm not sure how long it's been for you, but
it's been a while, but I'm almost wondering if I ever read The Hobbit. Like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, did I actually read The Hobbit, or is this a fever dream? It's been a while that I don't know that I could form a articulate opinion about The Hobbit because it's been so long, and I am now thinking maybe I didn't read The Hobbit. So
yeah, the movies are kind of like blending together in your mind. You're like, actually, maybe I did read it. Yeah, for me, whenever I did like my first read of Lord of the Rings last year, I reread The Hobbit for the first time since like 8th grade. And whenever I read it in 8th grade, I really, really liked The Hobbit. I was just invested in the world and the characters.
Yes.
And then I read it after Lord of the Rings, directly after, days after. I don't know. It's a good kid's book. That's what Tolkien originally made it for. Yeah. It was a bedtime story to his son. I think it works fine as a kid's story. But coming off Lord of the Rings and how insanely good the world building and the characters are, going from that to this, it's a pretty big jump.
I agree, and I like how you mentioned like how you read The Hobbit first when you were younger, then you read it again more recently, because I think too, like as we get older, like we compare those books not only to other books maybe in the same universe, but other books that we've read together, especially in the fantasy genre. And I just like I think that I mean me personally, I'm a fast reader, so whenever I'm involved with it, whenever I really like a universe or a set of characters or anything like that, it's like I need more. Like it needs like and then especially whenever they like kind of make it almost like they make it almost comparable in some aspects, but then you get back into the fantasy aspects, like well, like that's completely unbelievable with it. So I enjoyed the book, just by itself, but like again, reading the Lord of the Rings first, it's like, well, it's not that. My biggest thing is that it just didn't feel consistent. Like it's in an entirely different perspective. There are like some things that they mention that you're like, okay, well that's not in the Lord of the Rings universe, and it's just, I don't know, it kind of sticks out now that I have other context. Well, thank you, Darian. Thank you, Abby, for your opinions, your thoughts on Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, even if they were wrong, Darian. That's going to do it for this edition of Nerd Alert. Next week is going to be the final episode, but until then, have a good night and take care.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.